Return welcomes you to this chess coach number 7. In this chess coach number 7, looking for what is discovered attack as well as discovered check. So discover attack means basically we can define in such way that it's a brilliant technique. One player moves a piece out of the way and that reveals that there's already previously blocked attack of his own team. That's about discover attack, we can say. Anyways, let's start with the discover attack. Looking at the examples, you can on your window you can see now very basic practical example. So you see there from your black you have a king, rook, bishop here in 2 pawns. Your opponent is queen, quite stronger, and he has got 3 pawns, so looks quite difficult. And just an example I am showing you. You can see this e file where your rook, bishop, and queen is there. Suppose if you move your bishop out of this way, suppose maybe like this, now this is called discover attack. So now your rook can threat the opponent's queen of capturing her. So this is about discover attack. So how it's acquired by moving a piece out of your way. So if you move your bishop out, and of course that's called as discover attack. But one thing I would like to say, see, I say you starting the discover attack is a very great idea, but it doesn't mean that you're going to move any piece in any way. Moving a piece out of the way doesn't mean that you can move it to any square you wish. Just to prove that I have played discover attack, that doesn't help out. So even if you're moving a piece out of the way, that should have something meaning in it. What is meaning? Suppose, because I was showing you an example, if you move the bishop here, okay, though it sounds like it's a discover attack, but that's going to be somewhat problem for you, because what happens if it's a game, if this is considered as a game rather than example, then your opponent's queen can come to c5 and have a check, and also your bishop is hanging. So after that check, the only move king can do this one, and also rook can come in between the way. But of course, you're going to lose your bishop. So that's what I was telling you. So even if you're making a discover attack, it should not cost you something more. So if you consider this itself as a puzzle, now you can think okay, where the bishop can be moved from your side. So I said you moving here, your bishop will be hanging after giving a check from opponent's queen. So what if you think to move this, that's f5, bishop on f5, but still is not a good move, because queen makes the same move again, coming to the qc5 in check, and again your bishop is hanging. So that's quite you have to be careful how you're going to move your piece out of your way. So if you ask me, I think I would like to say this is a good move, this one or maybe this one, because even if queen delivers a check, so I think none of your pieces is hanging or in a threat of being captured. So this is how can understand the discover check. Okay. So let's start some puzzles. So where you need to take the advantages of this double check. That's just not moving by randomly, but you have to have in mind that you're going to take a advantage of whatever you learn it. So here's the first puzzle number 1. So look at here on the board, the puzzle number 1, you have with your white rook, king, knight, and 2 pawns. Looks like your kingdom is suppressed in the right side of the down right of the board, but your opponent is somewhat open because he has rook open, knight open. So king is also in a position to come to the center position. So that's what's the position we can comment on here. So now we can look at, I would like to give you a clue, that's a f file. If you look at the f file, okay, your rook is here, knight is here, king is here. Can you think of making something discover attack here, so that you're going to take the advantages of that, and that's going to really affect something for your opponents who are playing in black. So if you pause this video and then come back, so I can help you what happens if you move your knight out of the way. So if you move out of the way, see here it's actually rook is making a check now, but our main intention is not for the check. It's because we are learning about the discovered attack. Later we learn about the discovered check. Now it's only for the attack, So by moving knight from nf2 to nd3, that makes attack on this rook, and also even they can't move this rook because fortunately your opponent's king is in check, so only he has to move that one. So once after he moves there, then you're going to capture his rook, and now he's left only with the knight, so then you can have the game. So this is how we have to take the advantage of this the discover attack on here. But suppose if this was a puzzle number 1 I showed you, let me extend this puzzle now. What if rook was here? If rook was here, the rook is in now c6, you can say, and your knight also have changed. Your knight position have changed to f3 now. And now what should be your move? So again, can you think on now what's your great move to achieve the discovered attack? So you can pause the video. Anyways, I have to continue the video now. So think again the same way, like you for knight comes to any e5 again, you think like, okay, there's a check, and I have discovered it so that the rook is in hanging, opponent's rook is in hanging. But you know what happens here, rook can come to this square, so that so rook is also saved itself, and also you know the check is also got nullified here. Even then, after your rook takes, you take your opponent's rook, then he's going to take your rook by his pawn, so the match looks like somewhat equal. But still in this puzzle, you know, I would like to say there's still one more hope. What you can do, one more hope after this, you know, by moving this knight again to nd7. Okay, nd7, that's a check again, and also your opponent's rook is hanging again. However, that's been threatened by your rook again, one more thing. So you know, whatever the move comes, maybe king moves here, then you can take his rook. Then okay, of course he's going to take your knight by his pawn. Then okay, then he's left alone with the knight alone and 2 pawns, but you are with 1 rook and 2, so somewhat you looks a little stronger. So this is how we have to, you know, discover the attack. Okay, this is about the puzzle number 1. Let's move to the puzzle number 2. So look at here, the puzzle number 2. You're from the black now, but I think this game looks almost coming to the end game, we say, because your king is here and his king is here, and it looks like the pawns are left very rare pawns, and unfortunately you don't have a queen with you. Your opponent is having with a queen and 1 rook as well, so he looks quite stronger. Okay, now it's a white turn. So what I'm going to do is just assume that I'm your opponent. So I'm going to make my queen. You know, I'm going to make my queen from f2 to, you know, d2. You know the reason I'm going to make it to d2, because I want to take your pawn on g5, because it looks like easy pass pawn, it can be promoted anytime, so that's a threat to me. So I'm going to make my queen here. And also, you know, one more thing, the reason for me making his not only this part, the diagonal, if you see here, the right side of the diagonal here, I have get the open space, and I can bring anytime my rook here, and both together can attack this weak pawn. This was I'm thinking, so I'm going to make here. So this looks, you know, quite trouble for you to think. So in this case, you have to make use of your tactics. So for what you're learning, that's now we're going to use discovered attack. Okay, so now I think you understood. So analyze the board, analyze the positions, have your time, pause the video, come back with me after you get the correct answer. Anyways, I have to continue the video now. I think that's maybe easy. It looks easy if you analyzed completely the positions correctly. Some of you might have got the correct answer. Congratulations, who got the correct answer. I would like to say this looks easy. The bishop can be moved away so that, you know, the d file makes you know that's the reason for the discovered attack. You know, bishop, I can make it here. And one more thing here, what happens, you know, bishop is, however, it's defended by this pawn on the g5, so you know that's why, you know, your opponent's queen will not make a mind to capture your bishop, because queen is of course 9 points and bishop is just 3 points, so that is going to go to good move. But one more thing is that your opponent's queen also cannot capture your rook, because it looks like, oh, rook is just hanging, and it's not defended by any of your piece. But only thing is bishop is having a check, and you can't move your queen, because if a queen is moved away, there will be a check. That this is also a part of, you know, discovered check actually, but mainly we are concentrating on the attack now. We are just attacking your queen, our opponent's queen. That's why it's called as discovered attack now. So now in this case, nothing can be done for the queen. One thing, it needs to be stayed on the same position, or it may just capture the bishop. So which one you feel good? So now you achieved in making the discovered attack. Now you got the correct answer the first one. Suppose if I extend the puzzle and if I ask you the thing, what you feel better now, because, you know, queen can't be moved from this position. I mean, it can move this diagonal ways, but it can't move this way, this way, because, you know, if you move, there'll be check from your bishop. So what do you think? Queen staying there itself is a good, or queen capturing this bishop is good? So see what happens if your queen stays there, and if you move anything else, like maybe king or maybe a rook or maybe some other thing. So and of course bishop going to capture or rook going to capture, but you didn't lose anything. You didn't lose anything in this condition. But what if because already the queen knows, the queen has to forcefully sacrifice itself. So queen is going to capture this. So once after capturing, you're going to capture from your pawn. So that's at least, though they lost there, your opponent lost the queen, but at least he succeeded in capturing your bishop in turn. So that reduced the interval between the losing or maybe, but of course the game continues whatever it can happen. So this is how we can solve this puzzle number 2. Let's move to the puzzle number 3 now. And now look at the third puzzle now. Well, looks easy, and this also looks like very empty board, almost empty, because we have hardly 7 pieces on the board, 4 of your piece and 3 of your opponent's piece, and you're playing in white because you can easily understand left side of your board is having alphabetical letter A. So analyze this puzzle now. So what to be done now? As of course, I would like to tell you one more thing, that even though you're playing from white, but it's not white turn, it's black turn. So I'm your opponent now, currently temporarily your opponent. So I'm going to make a move now. So what I can make a move, you know, I'm planning like this, such way that I'm going to bring my rook from b7 to d7. You know, the reason why I'm bringing here, because you know that stops your bishop or rook to move anywhere else, because you know, even if you move your bishop anywhere, any square, like I would like to say like this, so your rook will be hanging and I can capture your rook. And or else, if you don't want to move your bishop, suppose if you think to move your rook, then I can capture your bishop. So this is the way I'm thinking, and hence I made from b7 to d7. That maybe currently I can think that I can stop your moves so that I can get the positions great from my side. But here things, but you can make use of this position. You know, how can you make use of course, by again discover attack. So that can result to discover check as well, but so you can just let me know after you get the answer. So let me resume the video. So I said I moved my rook here. So what if, because if you look at that's my means your opponent king is in black square, that really reflect on your bishop. So bishop, you're thinking to move to the black square again, that's c3, b, c3. So I'm in check, that means your opponent is in check, and you say your opponent's rook is hanging again. Only thing what you can do is the king can be moved here, and then you're going to capture it. This is what usually your opponent thinks, but can you help your opponent as well, so to make at least, however he's going to lose the rook, but can you help your opponent to make it less cost for him? Because after you deliver check, I'm not going to move my king here, I'm going to save the check by moving my rook itself. You know why this is? Because you know, because suppose if you capture my rook, or that's your opponent's rook, then in turn I can capture your bishop from my king, so only you are left with a rook then. So that's just lesson, but however the game continues, of course the black is in a losing position. That's why I make my rook to save this. But again, this is not a good move, I would like to say. You know why this is not a good move? You know, bringing rook from here to here, that's g7, is still not a good move. Can you find out why is this not a good move? If you can pause the video and get back to me. I'll continue my video now. What if you make a rook to here, you know, that's a rt1 to rdi, that's a check again, and king can't move anywhere. Only thing, rook's supposed to move here to nullify the check, but again rook also cannot be misplaced here because there'll be again check from bishop. So this is called as what, you know, this is called as checkmate. This is called checkmate. So this is how it caused a very brutal. I tried to, you know, make your positions weaker by moving my rook here, so that, you know, thinking even if either of bishop or rook moves, I'm going to capture one of your pieces, but that reversed me because succeeded in making discovered check or discovered attack, you know. So like, because my moving rook here, attack is there on this one, and also check is there, and after moving again here, I'm going to save this one. So this one, that's great. Suppose if you think I shouldn't move, I shouldn't move my rook, so that it just avoids the checkmate immediately. Yes, that's also good. So what if you think, what do you want me to think? I'm going to make my king here because that's the only move. Okay, let me make the king here, so I'm going to capture you, and then match continues just like that. Anything. Puzzle number 3, let's move to the puzzle number 4. Have a look at the puzzle number 4 here. You're from black now, because the previous puzzle you're from white.